Hi, this is Chris Monk, owner of Highline Guitars. In this episode of From the Luthier's Workbench, I'm going to be talking about how I fabricated a set of humbucker pickups, which will be used in a 7-string multi-scale fan-fret guitar. Normally when I make a set of humbucker pickups, I use off-the-shelf components and then just assemble everything. In this case, however, I have to fabricate the components because they don't exist. I'll be using alnico 5 rod magnets for these pickups, and the first thing I need to do is bevel both ends so that they are easy to install into the bobbins. To chamfer the magnets, all I had to do was chuck each rod into my electric hand drill, and then I just touched it to the grinding wheel for a couple seconds. There, perfect chamfer. Next, I cut out the bobbins using my CNC machine. The material I'm using is vulcanized fiberboard. A laser cutter would have made smoother cuts. However, the CNC machine works just fine. I'll just have to do a little bit of cleanup work with some sandpaper after they're done. You can see how rough some of the cuts are, but it's really no big deal. It'll only take a few seconds to clean it up. In the end, I had enough parts to make 4 bobbins, which is enough for 2 humbucker pickups. Now I have to install the alnico 5 rod magnets, but before I do that, I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup with a file. These bobbins are made a lot like a Stratocaster single coil bobbin is made. I just have to tap in the pole pieces. And what I'm doing here is I've taken a piece of maple and I drilled some holes in it that match up with the position of the holes for the rod magnets. That helps me to guide them into place. Works pretty well. I have 2 different size maple guides, one that will be used for the neck pickup and the other is going to be used for the bridge. I made the guides the same thickness that I need for fitting the top on and getting it spaced evenly across the whole length of the bobbin. So that's about all there is to making the bobbins. It's pretty simple actually. I'm also using the vulcanized fiberboard to make the base plates, but in this case the material is a little bit thicker than what I used for the bobbins. So here's an idea of the components that I made, the bobbins and the base plate. This is just before I began winding the coils. Speaking of winding the coils, I'm putting about 5,000 turns of 43 gauge wire on the neck pickup and then about 6,000 turns on the bridge pickup. Once I was finished winding the coils, the next step was to solder leads onto the start and finish of each coil. I've color coded them so I can keep them straight later on. To protect the solder joints, I'm using some very small heat shrink tubing just to get them all covered up. Then I wound up the leads so that they're nice and tight to the bobbin. One lead on each side of each bobbin. I like to wax pot my coils just to keep them from squealing. I'll let them soak in this bath for about 10 minutes. The alnico 5 magnets that I use come non-magnetized, so I have to run them between a pair of neodymium N52 magnets to put a charge into them. The orientation of the poles is critical for humbuckers to work correctly. One bobbin needs to be north side up, the other needs to be south side up. To keep the pickups extra quiet, I'm going to be shielding the base plate with a piece of copper foil tape. Now I can attach the bobbins to the base plate, making sure that I keep the proper orientation of the poles. Like I said, one is going to be south up, the other is going to be north up. I'll just attach these with some brass screws. I'll be using 4-conductor wire, so what I'm going to do is thread it through the base and then solder the wires together once I have it attached. Here I'm attaching a small plastic clip to hold the wire into place so it isn't going to go anywhere later on. Here I'm attaching the ground wire to the copper foil by winding it around one of the bobbin mounting screws. Now I can attach the leads to the 4-conductor wire. And of course I'm using shrink tubing to protect those solder joints. There's plenty of room between the bobbins to tuck all the wiring in so it's nice and clean. And then to protect the coils, I'll just wrap them up in some cloth pickup tape. And so that's how I made the neck pickup for my 7-string fan fret guitar. The bridge will be made exactly the same way.